Greetings, everyone. Today we have a Sabbath. It is the 10th of September, 2022, and I am joined with Michael again today with his series on a biblical view on conspiracy. And believe it or not, it's our 44th session today, and this is the prelude to Michael's conclusion, I suppose. Is that correct, Michael?
Hi, Brett, and dear listeners out there. Well, it's just the introduction of the next episodes when it's down to the assassination itself. Yeah, we are far from the background yet, but it's just the beginning of the introduction into the events of November the 22nd, as far as I can work it out. Yeah, so this session is more or less been called A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1, which is then the prelude, so that you really see there's much going on, which is very strange when you think about that as a real assassination, a soul assassination of a lone nut. It has religious backgrounds, it has political backgrounds as well, and of course, yeah, what does that tell us in a biblical way of thinking? And therefore I came up with a biblical verse from the beginning, from Proverbs 8:35, Brett.
Yes, and that reads, "For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death."
Yeah, what does that tell you about people who are planning a murder? That they are in the Antichrist spirit. It's much more obvious when you also would read John 8:44, when Jesus Christ says, "You are from your father the devil. He was a murderer from the beginning." Yeah, so all the murderers and all the killing has been due to the fact that Satan has been thrown onto this earth, and he wants to destroy God's creation, or at least he wants to deceive God's creation.
Yeah, and it just follows, I think it follows that nature, Michael, that there will be people that will go along with Satan because, quite frankly, they feel fit to do it. And that's what they're here to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Bible is definitely showing itself to be valid when it says that there are vessels created for honor and those for dishonor.
Yeah, this means, Brett, as far as I'm concerned, that all these people who are really into this, who really love this world, yeah, they love death, because in this world, it's Satan's dominion. Yeah, Jesus Christ said, "My kingdom is not from hence." It really tackles me that I have to do so many sessions to get to the nitty-gritty, but otherwise I think that people won't understand my point of view, and I would like to show them the biblical point of all the conspiracies, which is of course power, the will to power, like in Matthew 4, Luke 4, yeah, and of course the origin of the real revolution, which took place in heaven according to Isaiah 14. Yeah, so all that they hate me love death. So the people are really into the JFK thing, and I really hate going into this assassination, but I feel that if I would not go into the assassination, I think that we would miss out certain things about this Kennedy thing. It really makes me sad that the most famous thing of John F. Kennedy is always his assassination. So they did really a great job, Brett, in playing down his political role, yeah. Because if you tell any people about, do you know Kennedy, then I think that not many people will say that, oh yeah, that was the famous moon speech, or that was the Bay of Pigs. I think that the majority of people will only remember the assassination. So always remember the bad things. So then we go again. I found that very interesting because as I went down to the Wikipedia in German, it told that this figure of the movie called A Nightmare on Elm Street, I was been thinking of what does it reveal about the assassination of Kennedy. Yeah, let's look it up here. If there is an entry of Freddy Krueger, which is the main character, not Krieger, Krueger. Got such a mess on my desk here again. So, Freddy Krueger, Wikipedia. Yeah. It's a fictional character in the A Nightmare on Elm Street film series. So do you think that it's just really by accident they named it Elm? He was created by Wes Craven and made his debut in 1984. Interesting date, 1984. As the spirit of a child killer who had burned to death by his victim's parents after evading prison. And it was really interesting because I looked it up and I said, okay, he's got an ugly face, huh? Brett, you can tell that he's got an ugly face. And I know that we have talked about that before. Yeah. And you see that Kennedy, the meaning of Kennedy is an ugly head. Meaning descendants of Kennedy, and Kennedy is a personal name derived from KN, meaning head, chief or leader, and adding meaning ugly. So ugly leader, ugly head. Or ugly head of a family. You can also go that. So that is the most prominent feature of Freddy Krueger on Elm Street, is of course his ugly head. So that's hint number one. Hint number two are these scissor-like fingers. And I asked my German sister Stephanie, and I said, okay, you know there are no 60 genders. There are just two genders, male and female, biologically, not politically. So what would you think resembles long fingernails? Is it more a male-ish thing or a female thing? And of course, you can guess her answer. Third of all, he's got a right-hand glove. Okay. Fourth thing is that he's wearing a red pullover made of wool. Now, you can guess that it has got something to do with the happenings on Elm Street, huh? So, you got here on Freddy Krueger, I switch back to the German script, you got his ugly face, you got a glove on his right hand, yeah, and you got most of the time a red pullover, yeah, made out of wool, yeah. And then you got, of course, Jackie Kennedy, yeah. At least some parts of her appearance in the Elm Street. So, therefore, you got Kennedy, which means the ugly head. Therefore, you got the glove, and therefore, you got the red pullover or the red wool, if you would like to say so. But that's just a minor thing here. Yeah. It's very interesting that, at least in German, they tell you, oh, it's just about a spirit, it's just about a being, which is very, very old, it's existing in different forms and times. Yeah, the only thing which is not changing is his goal. It's to murder the innocent, or the innocence. Yeah, so the entity, whatever you want to call it, it's old, it's very old. It's existing in different forms and different times. The only thing that stays the same is what it lives for. It. Huh? So see, not he, Brad, it. Yeah, the murder of innocence. Yeah. So that is a depiction of Satan, actually. That's a depiction of Satan, and therefore you are at the King James Bible, John 8:44.
Yes, John 8:44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it.
Yeah, and so you got some hints that Mrs. Kennedy had some contract with the devil. I know that for regular people it seems far-fetched, but not for me. You see that I'm looking to the things, and I find it very interesting that some horror movie, in 1984, it's been named after the street where Kennedy has been murdered. And we know the famous quote from the ex-CIA director William J. Casey, who had also a role in the assassination of Kennedy, because then he was an officer and would become a future director of CIA, being a Knight of Malta, of course. And he was attributed, or his quote was attributed to him, which we also have verified in a former session. "We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false." Yeah, think of the moon landing that was introduced by Mr. John F. Kennedy. And nowadays,
think of the airplane that just vanished into the Pentagon and the attacks on September 11, 2001.
Beep.
Right?
Yeah. Think of the Peep, which crashed in Peep on the attacks of Peep in 2000 Peep. Yeah. Remember, we're not on BitChute here.
That's right.
This conspiracy nut means a term used by the mainstream media to slander anyone who questions their monopoly on the truth, which means it's an argumentum ad hominem, which is an argument against a person that had nothing to do substantially with facts. Yeah, I heard a quote which was very fitting, which was saying like this, facts? No one is interested in facts. Facts is 20th century. The entire situation out there is that you just agree and obey. It's not about facts. Yeah. So that is the problem, that when we come up with some conclusions, some of the people who are not getting used or not used reading the Bible and don't know that actually Satan and God and Jesus Christ are existing spirits, then they have a really hard time in understanding and grabbing that. Yeah. So that was me when I came up with the thing, and I said, well, that is very strange, because that novel or that movie, actually, The Nightmare on Elm Street, arrived in 1984, which is of course the same year when the 1948 novel of George Orwell, himself being Eric Arthur Blair, working also for the intelligence agency in the United Kingdom, he was prophesizing these surveillance 24/7 in this book 1984. So much so for coincidence. And so therefore there is a term called sheeple nowadays. And it's not that we claim anybody being a sheeple. It's just that I would like to clarify that sheeple are people who are just behaving like sheeps, but in a negative connotation, which means that they just trust their orders, they just trust the government, they just trust the officials or the so-called experts. Yeah, so therefore I found that a very interesting comic here, where some concerned sheep tells anyone, "I'm telling you, the guy and the dog are working together." And his answer is, "Oh, come on, George, you and your conspiracy theories." Yeah, so that sounds very funny, but in reality, it isn't. Because if you don't obey, you're the so-called black sheep. Yeah, because all these so-called sheeple, they're just following orders. Yeah, sheeple is a word to describe people who are docile or easily being influenced, and may even draw meaning from George Orwell's dystopian novel Animal Farm, where the sheep are the useful idiots of the new authoritarian regime, following the leaders and doing their bidding without thought. A portmanteau of sheep and people, it is a term reserved for the rest of the population who don't believe a particular theory, those blindly following conventional, so-called, wisdom and thought. Or science, so-called, huh? And so that's the main thing, that people have to get rid of these old doctrines, and it's very hard to do so, especially when people are maybe a little bit older and they're just getting used to get their information from the television. One website here claims sheep are herded by fear on a considered hostile sheepdog nipping at their heels to steer them in a direction towards the desired goal, which is a very good explanation of the events happening at the moment, right, Brad?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's just government by fear. Oh, atomic war.
Not only just governments, it's merchants as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in this. That's why, being a Bible believer, you do become hated by the entire community, because, there's that guy again that believes that we've been told a lie. you know? They're not going to believe what you say because you have real faith. They don't. You know in advance that things are going to be really hard in this world, in this life, because you have real faith in what the scriptures are telling you. And that's what makes it so rough, Michael, to make it through this life, is that, yeah, you're going to be treated as the problem, not the solution.
Yeah, they don't want to wake up. You see that the majority does not want to wake up. They just want to lead their life. They don't want to have any responsibility. They just want to have somebody who is deciding the things for them, so that they have more time on their hands to just enjoy this life. Because, frankly spoken,
worse than that, they're somewhere in between, and they haven't made up their mind yet what they're going to do. Are you going to be responsible, or are you going to just go around telling lies like everyone else? Believing the official version of whatever.
Yeah, narrative, it's called. The official narrative. Yeah, so the official fairy tale. Yeah, the official narrative in the case of John F. Kennedy is that there was a lone nut, and that's it. That was predetermined just right from the start. The Warren Commission never had any other clue or any other conclusion, or did not had any intent, because also they had to cover up everything. It's the same as other reports. But my point is actually, you see that it's hard to blame sheeple for being sheeple, because they don't know better and they can't do anything about it, because it's God's will if somebody would be waken up or not.
Right. Good.
And so we have really to be sorry for them, because they have also a certain standpoint, and they say, don't bother me with your so-called truth or with your research or what else. Yeah, I don't care. That's just their thinking. And I've talked to many people in my life. I'm more than 50 years old, so you can imagine I came across many different people. And they have a point, because you see that it's really sad to say, but they only got this life, and they want to make the best out of it. So, in case of just judging them, yeah, for being too naive, we should really feel sorry for them, because it's not in their hands to wake up. But on the other hand, if we don't put the finger to the nitty-gritty, yeah, we are to blame, because our job is to preach the gospel to every creature, which also means to tell the truth. And to Ephesians 5:11 means that to unravel all the unfruitful works of darkness. And so that's what we are doing here. We are doing it out of a service and out of love for the good side, which is the Almighty God, which is not the power which is ruling on this earth, which is a satanic force. Lucy in the sky, so to speak. Yeah? So, back to the script. Fear is the most effective and efficient mechanism ever utilized by mankind to control man's mind. It's time to wake up and replace fear promoted by ignorance with activism promoted by knowledge. Yeah, but it's not in our hands. It's not our decision. Yeah, you see that you can get a fist in your face for speaking out the truth nowadays. Yeah, because people are just simply driven by fear. Oh, don't come too close to me. Don't stand so close to me. Yeah, as if Gordon Sumner, as known as Sting, would have some pre-knowledge 1980-81. Don't stand so close to me. Okay, let's move on. From another novel of George Orwell, it is Animal Farm, where a special kind of animals think of themselves a bit higher, and better educated or supreme above others. And then they had the doctrine, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, which is, of course, an oxymoron. Yeah, but it's their doctrine. You see, facts does not count. Truth does not count. The only thing which counts is their doctrine, and that is the doctrine that they are supreme. Yeah, and these are not by coincidence the kind of swine which are then ruling.
What looks like nobility.
Yeah, they really have their place in society.
Decorations.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And how to control the majority of sheeple. In the case not only of JFK, but on moon landings and all these fairy tales, it's just about the television or, of course, the cinema, which is nothing else but a big screen. Yeah. So TV is good mind control because you can choose your own program. How do you want to be programmed? Do you like to be programmed with news on channel 1? So you channel 1. There's no coincidence that there are some occult practices just calling some spirits with the name of channeling. Yeah, so it's channel 1 for the news, for example. It's channel 2 for entertainment. Yeah, to enter in your mind mentally, entertainment. Or maybe it's channel 3. Then you're on the children's channel where we have the Doctrines all 24/7, maybe LGBT and thousands of other stuff. Or maybe you would like to prefer channel 4. In that instance, you get the channel which is then dedicated to sports. Yeah, especially when you look to Olympia. Olympia means the Mount of the Gods in Greece. And so it goes on and on and on. Yeah, you choose your own program, but you will be programmed because the only thing what really TV does is that you receive a vision from far away. You receive something. Aha, you receive a doctrine, but you are passive. Yeah, you don't have any influence about the program. You can only choose what kind of program you would like to watch, but you can't change the program, the movie, the doctrine, the news, or whatsoever. You're just passive. You're a sheep. You're just following the herd. And then the next day in school or at work, you still tell the people, oh, did you see that yesterday in that soap? Yeah. I remember me being young. And I was so sad about my father that he did not allow me to watch 8:15, the hilarious comedy show of a German comedian. And all of my classmates, they said, oh, yesterday, oh, that funny joke, I would like to, can you record it? And I just stand there and said, no, I had to go to bed at 8. But, and it's a big but, you see, that did not stop me from investigate things. Yeah, so you don't get the real truth from the media. You get their kind of truth. Yeah, yeah. But that's really the problem. That these people are just being controlled by the media. Media or medium, we know that from Science is the New Religion series, is just the intermediate between God and man. Yeah, that's a medium. Be it a prophet, be it an angel, be it a preacher. It's just a medium. And now they got their television church or their fear-mongering church since 2019. Yeah, you see that C19 thing. Yeah, that's a religion. It's by far the fastest progression in any church in the entire story of mankind. Yeah, billions of people in that church. It is not about facts, it's just about belief. So it must be a church. Any other better terms, it's a sect. Yeah. Yes, it's very interesting. Drink fluoride.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Worship the government. Yeah, and so people do not know that they are being manipulated big time. You see that there is no real difference in capitalism and socialism or fascism and communism. Yeah, it's just all about a small elite which orders the masses of people to obey. Of course, for a higher goal or for a noble thing. Or out of solidarity and what else. Yeah, just doctrines. Yeah. The leaders which you now know will never bow down and be like a regular citizen. They will always have their protection there. They will keep their houses. They will keep their income. That's absolutely no problem because these are the higher beings. You see that all men are equal. But some men are more equal than others. It's the same symbolism. It's also the same as ism. Yeah, I talk about Derry Eberhard's ism. Yeah, yeah. And so they don't want to know, or they don't want to teach us the esoteric teachings that they actually follow, so that we don't come across their path and don't come across their agenda, of course. Yeah. So, for example, all these pagan things and idols and Freemasons I'm showing here, it's just not by coincidence that these people are really behind all these happenings in the world, be it a ritual of the First World War, the Second World War ritual, be it the so-called Cold War, be it the atomic threat, be it the... what else? Huh? What else? September 11 and etc. All these things are rituals. They all have a religious background. Or a background from a most potent and most influential church of all time, which is of course the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah. And so many belief systems are being set up. The church of the New Age, the church of socialism, the environmental, the climate church. Yeah, so these are all just churches because they are putting people in some kind of belief system. Absolutely untrue, but sounds logical to them because they don't have any foundation. Yeah. So I came across that site.
They rejected that chief cornerstone, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the theme that we see pretty much throughout all the institutions today. They all reject the chief cornerstone, which is Jesus Christ.
Yeah, even that website here, that's a spot on point, Brad. That website here, it's called allreligionsare1.org. It's just a phrase by, I think it was William Blake. And that is a very hilarious site when it comes down to connections between things. But, and it's a big but, it's also a distraction site because it just mentions or claims that it's just Jesus Christ is a false eternal savior. And that Christianity is just a sun religion, etc. Yeah, so that these people who are running expensive and very, professional-looking websites, you have to be aware of the fact that most likely they are being run by certain organizations and certain agendas also. So they want to educate you, but just to a certain spot that you don't read the Bible. And it's not me who are going deliberately into that just for the fun or the heck of it, but I just want to look to the things and I just want to point out all these false preachers. So they got a prolific point in speaking out about the controlled opposition. There is much of the controlled opposition, or much of the opposition is a controlled opposition actually. But, and it's a big but, you see, even that website does not get it right for several reasons, because they don't want you to know the truth after all. It's just the old game of Satan is that he just has to test you. And you can be lost in the world of occultism, and I'm just only going into that occultism and all the things related to that to really make you see that the JFK ritual is depending on a World War I ritual and has something to do with the September happenings almost 40 years later. You can't see them separately. They are all connected because they have been planned and executed by the same or almost the same people, and especially the same organizations behind. So this is just Christianity has been mixed up with Roman Catholicism once again. Yeah, that is absolutely false. What is really right is Jesuits invented the Illuminati hoax. Speaking of Adam Weishaupt being a Roman Catholic professor at the age of the beginning of the 20 years old, and all the other things. So what is correct is that nearly all channels on YouTube with large following are controlled. That's of course because of the broad way leading into destruction. In contrast with communist internet in China and Western countries, a lot of distraction, deception and fake opposition is used to give the illusion of a free internet or of free speech in general, while applying the same heavy censorship and let search engines promote BS and suppress the truth. Yeah, so the illusion of a free internet. You see that we are one of the few channels who are not doing it for money, who are not doing it just running on a big budget, who are not going into sophisticated websites and having not sophisticated videos like others do, but we're just looking behind the things and would like to do you a service. So what the website makes okay is the controlled opposition. And here is, of course, some collage of some of them. Of course, you instantly recognize David Icke and, of course, Mr. Alex Jones. who's been paid by most likely some people of the government. Okay? And so that is the problem here. You see, you can name anybody. The problem is that this website, who claims that they will now present you all the controlled opposition, is controlled opposition too. So it's really hard for a beginner to sort out what is what. And it's just that I want to show you some hints. Benjamin Fulfox, for example, he was doing a hilarious city interview. I think it was with Rothschild. And yeah, of course, he's been paid also. He's a paid actor. Benjamin Fulford, you will never get the truth out of him. Yeah. Breitbart News, set up by Steve Bannon, ex-clown of Donald Trump.
Oh, gee, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Carol Quigley, no doubt about it. Coast to Coast, being run by a Jesuit.
Dan Dix there. Do you ever watch that Press for Truth?
No.
Okay, that guy from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And no surprise.
Yeah, so some other people. Daniel Gans is a Swiss historian. Which, of course, he can't speak about the real truth. He can't speak about the church. The guy's got some... hilarious press on his back, and for some safety reasons I think that he does not speak about it, or he is just not a reborn Christian. Now that could be the most obvious reason behind that. Okay, so many other people. Erich von Däniken about ancient aliens. That's he made. I think he sold 50 million books or so. Yeah, so imagine he was being sued for fraudulent behavior or theft or so when he was young. Yeah, and later on he became the pronouncer, the priest of the ancient aliens or pre-astronaut religion. Yeah, that's also a kind of career. Jesse Ventura, we don't have to speak about him. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's government. Jim Mars. Yeah, Jim Fetzer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Mr. Fetzer, and I really like his research. Of course, he can't speak about something behind the screen or behind the curtain, but that must maybe have also to do with his job. Yeah, so I would like to... tell.
Well, you know, he lives in Minnesota, doesn't he?
I know that, but I know that I also have used his, and I will use also his research on the fact. So I really like his research. I know that he can't point a finger to the nitty-gritty, but that's also the website who is claiming here that he's controlled opposition isn't doing that either. Yeah, so sorry. Yeah, don't fool me. Yeah, fool me once, no, don't fool me twice. So I think that Jim Fetzer is a outstanding researcher, but of course he has his limits. Yeah, what he's able and allowed to speak about. Yeah, don't think for just one moment that these people are really nuts or doing it deliberately or so. I think that's much pressure on their back.
I think a lot of them are tied to the institutional learning also, because Jim Fetzer, as far as I remember, is a professor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a PhD, I know, yeah.
Yeah, so
we show them
they
also.
do have their limits. That's the truth, Michael.
I really have my how to say that I really appreciate his work. I have to say that, because he did some interesting research which was very useful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So to say that he's controlled opposition, I think that does not serve some people here. And once again, if you claim that somebody is controlled opposition, of course you have to verify that. Yeah. So that what that website says is just another bunch of claims. Yeah. Sure, you can go into this and you can open the link here, Coast to Coast FM. So it's a radio station. Don't know why that does not work here at the moment. Yeah, controlled opposition. Yeah, but that's a claim to spread disinfo about extraterrestrials. Okay, but that's not the concern of Jim Fetzer, you see?
No.
If you're connected to somebody who has not got it right, then it does not mean that you're some companion. Okay, so that's my problem with the website, actually. Yeah. So, talk about Joe Rogan. I don't have to talk about Joe Rogan. He's an excellent fighter. But that's just the problem with it. I've seen one show with him with a certain guy from the chemical industry. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he's the authority on the number one subject at the moment. And you see that I would say that he's controlled opposition, definitely, yeah. Yep. And many other people as well. Many other people. Michael Moore, you see, the movie maker, and many people, of course. Many people, yeah. So QAnon, don't talk about QAnon, yeah. Follow the White Rabbit, and you know that it's a program. Yeah, Robert Anton Wilson, oh my, this Illuminati story, and Robert Kennedy Jr., well, don't expect Kennedy getting out and stepping out in front and telling you the absolute truth. I think that you're the next one in the line of fire. Ron Paul, of course, he's just only the one who is then been used to create the illusion of democracy in your parliament. Russia Today, also very interesting. Look after the financiation of that. Oliver Stone, no doubt about it, Jesuit coadjutor. Yeah. Taxi Mars, yeah, much related to Alex Jones. Tucker Carlson, yeah, of course, that's all mass media. That's mass media. WikiLeaks, yeah, WikiLeaks is also controlled opposition, I would agree on that. But I would spare out William Cooper and William Guy Carr because I think that these people try to make it right. Yeah, the problem is that the website does not get it right. I'm only using the website because of so many links in it. Yeah, I'm absolutely not sure about Jordan Peterson because I really like Jordan Peterson. He's got his flaws. He's talking about evolution theory and all the stuff, but apart from that, he's really busy, and I really admire his skills. Yeah, but you can't judge if anybody will not be reborn again sometimes later. And I hope that he will be one of the persons who will have the mercy of God and really to see what's all about behind the curtains. Yeah, David Icke. Yeah, don't talk about David Icke. Yeah. So many people, so many things, yeah. Denmark, my favorite disinformation agent, Ole Dammegaard, yeah. Oh, it's a miracle that Jackie Kennedy was not being shot. Sure. Yeah. Julian Assange, I don't trust that guy. Either Pizzagate, etc. Yeah. So, Bloodline of Jesus, absolutely BS. Bob Lazar about his element in Area 51, it's hilarious fairy tales. I don't give anything about it. Yeah, Illuminati hawks, of course. Yeah, was created when the Jesuits were forbidden. So that is a distraction here, of course. Moon landing, don't talk about it. Pizzagate, QAnon, blah blah blah. So, what this website got right is the United Nations. He's in New York, and we know the United Nations welcomed the Pope. It was the Pope Paul VI, if I remember correctly, Brett, in 1965, when he was then being welcomed in the United States of America at the United Nations.
Right.
Yeah. Therefore, in 1945, the UN was being set up after the Second World War as a ritual and, of course, as a world government. Yeah, that's the world government. You already have the New World Order. It's UN. Officially, yeah, because the majority of countries in this world are incorporated in the United Nations, and there's much more to it. Yeah, there's much more to it. Interesting enough is in ancient Egypt, the pharaohs worshipped the sun god as Un or On. Yeah, UN. That's this. The Roman Empire became the Holy Roman Empire. The Catholic Church sent missionaries and Jesuits to all unconquered countries, and the British Empire and colonists conquered America. Well, not only them. The Jesuits, the British Empire, and the Skull and Bones family conquered China and India through the opium trade, and not only them. Yeah, because I think the role of the Catholic Church has been downplayed here. The Jesuits used the Fabian Society, used the wolf in sheep's clothing tactic with politicians pretending to care about their slaves. Yeah, that's all. It's all for your protection. The Cecils and their agent Julian Huxley, the Ghost Club with members of the Order of the Golden Dawn with Aleister Crowley, brother of Aldous Huxley, who announced a brave new world of a prison society with forced V, beep, 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 and end this distraction, created the League of Nations, which became the United Nations. Gilbert Murray of the Society of Psychical Research was vice president of the League of Nations Society. The UN logo contains the grain symbol, Saturn as the god of harvest. Not only that, it also contains 33 segments. Don't forget that the United Nations are being located in New York. And that your country has been founded upon the basis of Freemasons, which is also another distraction tactic of the Roman Catholic Church in general, and the general of the Society of Jesus. So it's all the same. Yeah, you see that in the symbol. Yeah, so the wheat. So it's all the same. If it is communism, is it capitalism? So who cares? The leaders of that are the supreme beings or the swines in the Animal Farm of George Orwell. So, what to do about it? Nothing, but just to clear your mind of all unnecessary things you hear in the news, which, because it's just the news, they have no substance in it, you won't find the truth in there. So we are here in the European Union, which is nothing more and nothing less as a dictatorship out of Belgium, of Brussels, where also it's a famous hotspot of the Jesuits, with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony as an anthem. It has a resemblance allegedly on Revelation 9:11, the Abyss, and the Apollyon the Destroyer on the bottomless pit, 9/11. The old divide and conquer technique of the Roman Empire led to the left and right wing church, or the left and rights, or the Democrats and Republicans, etc., to give the impression there is a democracy and freedom of speech. Yep, that's correct. The Revelation 9/11 Twin Towers ritual ended in One Wood Tower. Yeah, that's correct, close to the UN headquarters. Yeah, from the start of the Global 19 ritual, the number of the sun, by the way, the totalitarian world government agenda was put in higher gear with massive censorship and the WHO as only provider of correct information. As always said that WHO is behind it. Yeah? So I don't take the letters separately, but who is behind it, huh? Who is behind it? Yeah. Yo. So, all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to Rome.
They have for thousands of years, Michael. That's the shame of it all. How come we haven't seen this earlier in our lives, you know?
No, we were too much suppressed by the mass media, and our parents did not know any better.
Well, and the same can be said for anyone else too. See, that's the problem. We come to this knowledge when we get older in life, and as youth, you want to just, yeah, those are old people. Just never mind what they're saying. Let's just go. Let's go have fun with our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a problem with it. You see, all these people are being set up as actors. And they act like a puppet on a string, because it's always the church behind them. Or, if you would like to say it in more general terms, Satan, as the so-called god of this earth. They're just puppets, actors, puppets, singers, dancers, politicians, scientists. They're all just puppets. They're all just puppets on a string of the church. And the church is just the worldly beast, which is executing the wills and the orders of Satan. But I know that you are a native English speaker. Maybe you have a better expression upon that.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah. So what has that to do with Kennedy? Well, Kennedy wasn't protected on the 22nd of November 1963, and for some good reasons, because it's your government who is involved in that. Otherwise, why do they withhold so many documents, huh? So the Central Intelligence Agency, or Catholics in Action, is the Secret Service of the United States run by the Jesuits, or SMOM, as spies for the Church of Rome, masters in deception, spreading misleading conspiracy theories with the CIA as the Jungian shadow, synonym for dark secrets, oil, communism with the Masonic JFK ritual as mother of all conspiracy theories. Closely associated with the British MI6, sure, that was after the war. In the war it was the OSS, and after the war they created it anew, that is then the CIA. The totalitarian world state United Nations. In the history of the CIA, the name William or I am often shows up as William V repents the shadow, blah blah blah. Politicians are actors on a world stage. Yes, that's correctly. The history of the CIA is closely intertwined with the history of mind control. Sure. That's absolutely right. So there's information and mixed with distraction. So you don't know what is really what, because you see that everything has been published is a part of a disinformation. But, and it's a big but, of course, they are trying to fool the people, because we remembering of all the things that William Casey told us here. He said that the main goal of the CIA is to disinform the people. Yeah, history of the CIA. Well, to understand how we get to our conclusions is that we not only use the Bible, but we use also common sense. Common sense means you look behind the curtain, you look where it's all coming from. So you need a foundation. And now to get into Kennedy ritual, you know that it happened in a restricted area, it happened in a temple, it happened in Dallas, and it happened with the co-working of the CIA, FBI, and the Secret Service. So first of all, we are going into the history of the CIA. In 1500, a certain John Dee, he was a magician, he was an alchemist, an astrologer, etc. for the Queen Elizabeth. He worked as a spy master for a certain Francis Walsingham under the control of the family of the Cecils, allegedly. So, to protect somebody means that you have to have information about your enemy, your opponent. Yeah, so that's why they set up these secret services, because they wanted to have protection. They wanted to know what's going on in their kingdom. So that went on in the Middle Ages, 1500s. So then later on, that was Charles Bonaparte, who organized the Bureau of Investigation, and many other monarchies did the same. The British Empire then created some service organizations, Fabian Society, Theosophical Society, yes, Blavatsky and all the stuff, Society for Psychical Research. This is just an official name for an unofficial company or an unofficial agency. And Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. That's what I always said, that all these secret services and secret societies, they are going hand in hand. In 1908, the FBI is formed, pretending to fight organized crime. In 1909, the British Secret Service becomes MI5, that's the domestic cases, and MI6, meaning the foreign cases. So there is your origin of a certain character called Bond, James Bond. So then the First World War appeared. And after the First World War, or win the First World War, that was Woodrow Wilson, that's a typo, Woodrow Wilson, it's not my typo, who was then handing over the money to the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, by the way. So it's all just a blatant lie, what politicians are really putting out. Yeah, you see, they're all being part of a propaganda scheme. Edward Bernays, I think he was a nephew or so, but he was related to Sigmund Freud to make propaganda, and also the propaganda minister of the Third Reich, Joseph Goebbels, he used the books of Edward Bernays. Yeah, so every government tried to convince or influence their sheeple with psychology and with fear, of course. In Germany, 100 years ago, or almost 100 years ago, in the Third Reich, people were feared about the Russians, the evil Russians. And you see, that is a revival nowadays, because 90 years later, people again are fearing the evil Russians. Hilariously, huh? That's hilarious. Okay, so the Council of Foreign Relations has been formed in 1921, with using, of course, propaganda. No? Or nowadays it's called public relations. No? No one is allowed to use the word propaganda anymore. Yeah. Yeah, so then you got the ritual in the Third World War. Lindbergh baby, most likely he did it himself, or he ordered to kidnap his own baby. Yeah, he was also a Mason, allegedly, and very interesting. Edgar Hoover, Knight of Malta, Mason and Shriner, everything in one person. Orson Welles, 1938, did a media experiment. They only had radio broadcast then. But they did this War of the World with allegedly invasion from Mars. And he did it so well that people were running on the streets looking into the sky out of fear. Yeah, so the fear mongers, the fear management was in a working with the media, mass media, almost in 1938. Yeah, so that when about 71 years later, they tried it with television and they were successful in 2019. Yeah? That novel was based on a Jesuit called H.G. Wells. What a coincidence. Winston Churchill, Special Operations Executive, SOE, Secret Service, where Christopher Lee was a famous part of. They have also their part in that, SOE. They helped each other out, also their American so-called friends. Then you got the Georgetown set with John Dulles and the brother of Avery Dulles, Cardinal Avery Dulles, Jesus Angleton, and all these people. They are really a Georgetown gang, and the problem with JFK is that he was living, or his wife living in Georgetown. So they even got their children from a Georgetown hospital. So what do you think? He would never have become president if he was not being promoted by the Roman Catholic Church. Yeah, that's the problem with it. Yeah, and here you got John McCloy, very interested in the Warren Commission. Now these are all members of orders. Yeah, and you see, the best tales are being told by people in the secret societies, or in these secret societies, in this intelligence, because also there is a famous one, Jean Le Carré, The Spy from the Code. I think it is the English title, the German title I know. And he was also a spy, and he was being writing when he was a spy under pseudonym, under alias name. Yeah, and that's the same case for James Bond, Ian Fleming. He always also was an agent. Yeah, that's also the case for George Orwell, and which is not his real name. And you see that these are not fiction. For a great part, it's just reality. They know what's coming. Yeah, and that's why Mr. George Orwell wrote the book 1984. It was not much of a novel, but a script. Yeah, then you got the Knights of Malta, and then you have the reinvention of the OSS in 1947, I think. Tavistock Group, when they all set up all these advertisements and all these singers in the United Kingdom. Operation Paperclip to transfer the German Nazi scientists to the United States. Yeah, that's no problem for them. 1947 it is, yes. Or in 1946, the United States helps establishing the Gehlen organization from the former SS General Reinhard Gehlen as a Knight of Malta. Of course, together with the OSS of William Donovan, who was a Knight of Malta. You see that officially they are enemies, US against Germany, or William Donovan against Reinhard Gehlen, but they have something in common, because the power to be, or the powers to be behind, is then SMOM, and so they are brothers. They're just wearing a different uniform. But then Reinhard Gehlen was changing his uniform from SS to CIA. Oh, no problem. Later on, he became the head of Secret Service in Germany. Once again, although he was a Nazi, and sorry, it's just you. If you really see this, then it's so obvious. The OSS of William Donovan, or Wild Bill, becomes the CIA with the Eagle Horus as logo, like the Nazis. Yeah, it's always the eagle, it's always the eagle. It's not only limited for the Third Reich on the left side and the CIA on the right spot. It's just also a synonym for the Roman Empire. And the eagle itself has something to do with the rulers of evil. I can't recall that now because I talked with Jörg about that 2 days ago, but don't ask me on what page and so that means. But eagle is also a synonym of the golden calf, or materialism. And of course, the eagle would be seen as the ruler of the sky. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and wasn't that the eagle was the mascot of someone? Who was that? Some god. Was it Zeus or something? I forget.
I also would.
Mythology.
Yeah, but my point is really that it's just an old symbol, and you see that's they always use the same symbols, and also the swastika here is not only an Asian symbol of luck, of good luck, but also a symbol of the sun. So it's always the same. It's always the same symbolism. Yeah, and you see that is here the Roman salute. What many people absolutely
that's right.
have no idea of, and don't ask somebody in Germany because they will attack you. It is forbidden to ask anything about your history.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so many things that I can do in German.
No wonder they got that saying, Michael. Don't ever talk religion or politics with your clients.
Yeah, that's a Roman salute. Or the fascist salute, or the, that salute. Yeah, it's the same. My. It's absolutely the same. So, Roswell media psyop about extraterrestrials on the 33-degree parallel. Of course, it's a psyop to start the threat or the fear about the invasion of extraterrestrials. And I know there are some sayings about some people, especially women, who have been abducted by aliens, but you see that there's much more to it, but it has nothing to do with small green men. I know that in secret societies, at least in one secret society, they actively believe that the United States government works hand in hand with great creatures who are about 3 feet tall. And I'm not kidding. Grown adult men. Why? Because they don't have any foundation in the Bible. And I think that we will see some extraterrestrial threat in our lifetime, Brett. There will be meteors, there will be things coming down, there will be explosions, there will be earthquakes. It's all been promised in the book of Matthew, or in the Gospel of Matthew 24. So 1950, CIA fronts Free Europe Radio, or Project Bluebird, and all the things researched on trauma-based mind control to create assassinations and hypnotic triggers and dissociation. Oh, look at here, Brett, hypnotic triggers, okay? What did I presume about Jackie Kennedy? I think there are some kind of hypnotic triggers. And now please compare that to the second side here of Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, okay? Oh, where is it? I know it's there. Aha, there it is. Because there is also a medication which can prevent you from being hurt of this creature called the Freddy Krueger, which is a medication about hypnocil, like hypnotic, a fictitious medication in the Nightmare on Elm's series, which suppresses dreams in your sleep. So it has something to do with hypnosis. And then we come back to the program here on page 30. Hypnotic triggers and dissociation. Well, so much things going on here. 1953, Alan Dulles, who was a family friend of the stepfather of Jackie Kennedy and also helped her stepping in the CIA. He had taken over the project MKUltra, research on drugs, hypnosis, once again, and trauma-based mind control. Same day James Bond. based on John Dee's Secret Service as heroic and sexy, Ian Fleming MI6 like Aleister Crowley. All people working together. Yeah, you see that is all CIA, OSS, it's all certain different names for one and the same thing. If you need a secret organization in your democracy, then your country is not democratic. Because they're doing secret things behind the curtain which almost nobody is aware of. And so they can also kill people without being found guilty. They are just like small James Bonds. Time magazine, also SMOM. Knight of Malta, William Buckley founds the National Review magazine. So it's all controlled press, Skull and Bones. It's all the same. You see that it's never-ending story. Knight of Malta, Dwight Eisenhower, American president. The director of Knight of Malta, John McClone, with John F. Kennedy as president. Yeah, you think that's so hilarious, Brett. The son of Knight of Malta, Joe Kennedy, Mr. American President, John F. Kennedy, himself being a Knight of Columbus, he fired the Knight of Malta, Alan Dulles, to replace him with the Knight of Malta, John McCone. Oh.
What good does that do?
I don't know. You see that... sorry, but JFK was so alone. Yeah, he had really not much support on his side. He could never survive. Yeah, at least they would have killed him politically. Yeah. I think they tried it at least twice, and I will show that in the next session. But it's hilarious. You see that the opposition that he was facing. Yeah, 1963 JFK ritual. Yeah, Edgar Hoover, of course, he suppressed all the evidence. Yeah, and so everything that you will be facing are rituals here. The youth movement, the summer of love later on, free love and free drugs and flower power, and so, yeah. MK Ultra, Manchurian Candidate, MK Search for the assassins. Yeah, there was even a movie with Frank Sinatra in 1962. So one kind of hint that they were planning something about the Manchurian Candidate. Yeah, Swinging London, etc. And that's it actually. Yeah, you see that all the things are just being set up by CIA, Deep Purple, Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin. All these people are Satanists, Black Sabbath, Woodstock festivals. Yeah, it goes on and on and on, but you see that we just like to point to the fact that these are just rituals, and they are just rituals because they were being manipulated and managed by the church. Yeah, so rituals, religious rituals. 1982, Banco Ambrosio, Propaganda Duel Lodge, media ritual with Robert Calvi as the hanged man. Yeah, on the Blackfriars Bridge in London, we talked about that. These are all rituals. It's all a ritual. Has something to do, of course, with rituals. Yeah. Ritual. Yeah, and of course, why did not the Russians speak about the fake moon landing of the Americans? Yeah, because it's just the other side of the coin, Brett. Yeah, so the Americans do not reveal the faking of the Russians, and the Russians do hitherto. So they do it, all keep quiet. It's a secret service. Yeah, they service their God. Ku Anam Psyop. Yeah, and so that's it. Yeah, and in Germany also you got also that problem here. You got many assassinations, or some famous assassinations, but also been pointing out the finger to the so-called lone nut. Yeah, that's the October festivities in 1980. Yeah, that's kind of a harvest festivities with beer and dancing and blah blah blah. Yeah, so that is just it was some lone nut. Yeah, allein means alone. Yeah. Somebody who was just a single lone nut. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I can't go into this, but it just also a lone nut. And they had luck, the authorities, because they found his passport. And that reminded me about the pen bomb. Yeah, so that also in September 2001 they found the passports. Yeah, you see that extreme high buildings crumbled down and were blown up into dust. Yeah, but paper survived. Yeah, it must be hilarious, made out of special, I don't know, carbon fiber or what. Yeah, these are passports who survived. Yeah. Yeah, you see that the entire buildings crumbled to dust, but the passport survived. Great, huh? Yeah, you don't see any 20 stories here. It just actually, it was solid, and then it's boom, out of the, it's just like thin air. It's just dust after that. Yeah, that's really hilarious. Yeah, so don't be bothered if you know some sheep, don't be bothered with some explosions happening there. Yeah, must be coincidences. Yeah, maybe somebody was listening to his hip-hop music. I don't know. Yeah, must be. Yeah, later on they really knew that it was the kind of FBI in Germany. It has another name. But yeah, there was no lone nut. There was no lone nut. There was no lone nut. It's never a lone nut. It's no Lee Harvey Oswald. It's never a lone nut. Yeah, so evidence had disappeared. It's the same as in the case of John F. Kennedy, huh? Yeah. But I got a very interesting thing. Well, pardon me for not having translated the entire article. It would not stand the test of time. It would not be of that importance as it is for the German listeners. Yeah. So also there was a mass suicide of 4 so-called terrorists in 1977. Yeah, you have to believe, of course, that version of the story, huh? That also in a high security jail, 4 people committed suicide at the same time. That even guns were being hidden in a turntable, Brad. Yeah, speaking of high security jail. Yeah, Plattenspieler means turntable. Yeah. A gun, a Hungarian gun, who was being hidden in the wall and later on in his turntable. My, that's the kind of thing. So then we have also German Secret Service, who has been made an explosion in the jail into so that they create the illusions that somebody would free the captives, and that was done by the German Secret Service. Yeah, it was not done by terrorists, it was done by the Secret Service. Oh, you can't imagine. Yeah, you can't imagine. You see that how deep that goes. Yeah, Secret Services are doing things in secret, and they will not be held responsible by the government. And that's the same case as in the case of John F. Kennedy. Yeah, no one of the agents were blamed about doing nothing. So, where is it? Yeah, so I have to look it up. Yeah. And now I did some translation for you. It will not be much, but this is some informant who had been killed. He had been asked for protection before, but that was not granted. He asked for observation also, but it was not granted. And out of a sudden, a few hours later, he was been found dead in the forest. By pure coincidence, bred by some US soldiers in Germany who were doing some kind of training. Just coincidence. So he was a terrorist and also an informant of the West Berlin kind of a German FBI. Yeah, that's the name, and I can't translate it into English because it would not make any sense. But I have translated it into English, and you see, this is what happened in Germany. So don't think that in this satanic earth, things in Germany are much better than in America. The Schmücker trial consisted of total of 4 criminal proceedings aimed at solving the murder of Ulrich Schmücker, a terrorist and undercover agent of the West Berlin Office for the Protection of the Constitution. That is the official English name of the so-called FBI that we got here, so they are being busy with domestic cases. It was the longest criminal trial in the history of the Federal Republic of Germany, began in 1976 and ended after 15 years with a total of 591 trial days spread over 4 proceedings in 1991 with the termination of the criminal proceedings. The trial is considered a judicial scandal because the proceedings were, as officially stated, manipulated and massively obstructed by the Office for the Protection of the Constitution and at least 2 public prosecutors on many occasions, for example by suppressing evidence which made it impossible to clarify the matter in court. Yeah, Brett, and that's the same in the case of JFK, where so much evidence had gotten rid of. Among other things, the murder weapon, a Luger pistol, has ended up in the hands of the Office for the Protection of the Constitution the day after the murder, where it was subsequently hidden in a safe for 15 years, and this was deliberately concealed from the prosecution authorities. In each of the first trials, several innocent people were sentenced to life imprisonment in some cases, primarily on the basis of false testimony by a suspect who had himself committed the crime. In the course of the proceedings, the witness credibility was seriously shaken, and the defense attorneys raised the well-founded suspicion that the witness himself might be working for the Office for the Protection of the Constitution, which, however, remained unexplained. In addition, it became known that the Office for the Protection of the Constitution had illegally spied on one of the defense attorneys involved for years. In the end, Schmücker's murder could not be solved legally. Those responsible for the manipulations were covered up by the Secret Service. In part, it is suspected that this protection continues to the present in order to prevent a subsequent clarification of the case. According to the court's conviction on the 4th and last trial, the Office for the Protection of the Constitution was considerably complicit in the death of Ulrich Schmücker, but after the proven manipulations, a judicial clarification was no longer possible. The fact that even in 4 trials it has not been possible to clear it up and to convict the perpetrators as well as those responsible for it is a stain not only for the federal German judiciary but on the rule of law as a whole. Can you imagine, Brett? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yeah, that the weapon was subsequently hidden in a safe for 15 years and was deliberately concealed from the prosecution authorities.
That sounds kind of vaguely familiar to something that happened 21 years ago, almost to the day.
In each of the first trials, several innocent people were sentenced to life imprisonment in some cases. Can you imagine that? Being sued for something that you didn't do. Mm-hmm. That's what I really was fond of presenting you, that you really see that it's all over the world. Mm-hmm. It's all over the world. Yeah? Yeah, so who killed Mr. Schmücker? And if the murderer is among the people of the Secret Service is unknown to this very day. And that means that the murderers are among us. So that there are people who are murderers, but they are not convicted because they are being protected by the Secret Service. So that means if the Secret Service, like your Bond, James Bond, does murder anyone, they get away with that. And does that remind you, Brett, of...
License to Kill, like the...
License to Kill, yeah. All that they hate me, love death.
Yeah, there you go.
And that is what you really have to face. Yeah, that is the case of John F. Kennedy as well.
You know, and since you bring that up, that reminds me of this this little video clip that you showed on one of our more recent videos of this this politician here in the United States when she was interviewed by 60 Minutes, you know, saying,
Madam Albright.
Madam Albright, yeah. Which is, you know, we think it's worth it, yeah.
500,000 Iraqi children.
Yeah. Just, you know, we think it's worth it.
For not existing weapons of mass destruction.
Now, if that is an example of someone that loves death, I don't know what is.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what did Jesus say? All those that hate me.
Yeah,
So does that mean that our institutional governments hate Jesus? Yes, it does.
yeah, at least
They
people
do.
in the Secret Service who are then being satisfied with killing one another or a target. They just followed orders. And I'm not saying that everybody in the Secret Service is the same way. But I just only point out that the Secret Service is one famous possibility for a professional killer to satisfy his needs with the backup of the authorities. It's the same as a soldier. When you have killed a certain amount of people, you will be honored by the state. You will not be persecuted because you wear the uniform of the US Army or whatsoever. And then if you have killed the so-called enemy, if you had killed people, God's creation, living people, yeah, then you will be honored. For bravery or what else. Yeah, that's a word. Yeah, if that word is not satanic, yes, you see that you really have to be sheeple to not see that. The state, every state, it does not matter if France, Germany, England, the United States, does not matter. They have professions where they honor death. They love death. Officially. If some sharpshooter will be presented and says, oh, I've killed 200 people, and people say, wow, he's a shot. No, he's a professional killer. You see that even your politicians, it's been said in the case of Lyndon B. Johnson, who has feared the people by the atomic threat in 1964, and he was been then named Landslide Lyndon because of his landslide victory against his so-called opponent, which was of course fabricated, but nonetheless. He was being accused by Billy Saul Estes that he himself was being busy ordering 9 deaths, among that his own sister, because she talked too much. Yeah, that's your politicians. Dear listeners in the United States, these are your politicians. Corrupt, criminal, loving death. And don't come with me talking about Lyndon B. Johnson being a Protestant or what. He is not Protestant. He is a Jesuit. He is SMOM. He is a Freemason. He is everything. He is in a satanic spirit.
Yeah, see, that's what it means when you're Jesuit. It means that you have a license to say whatever you want and lie as much as you please.
Yeah, the end justifies the means.
And that's okay. That's
in the case,
just fine.
Yeah.
Just look at our wonderful little example of what we just went through with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Anthony Fauci, huh?
Yeah. Also, that's the same. All that hate me love death.
Absolutely. Couldn't be more clear.
And if you hate God, then you love Satan. Yeah, and then you will be honored. Yeah, you will be gifted. You will receive fame and fortune and money and cars and houses and luxury jewelry. Ask Jackie Kennedy if she would be alive. They're all in for the money.
But you know what, Michael? They're not very happy, are they?
No, Jackie Kennedy had officially cancer, and when she was 64, I think it was, she deceased. The son of Aristoteles Onassis. How old he was? He was something in his 20s, I think it was, and his daughter was, she was 30 something. Yeah, you see that. On the other hand, Queen Elizabeth had died last week, and she was 96. But I don't know how many hearts she got, or heart transplantations, or surgeons, or what else. I don't know. But that's not the point. The point is really that you see, people have a hard time when I'm saying that Jackie Kennedy is the main suspect in the case of John F. Kennedy assassination. They do, because they are not used to research. They are not used to look for the truth. They are just believing things, and that will shaken their foundation in the belief of their government or their mass media. That's a problem. They are actually been feared that I could be right, or that we could be right, or that the Bible could be right. The point is that you have to do your own research, but how to start a research when you trust your media? You have to start from you. And the foundation that we got is the Bible. And when we know, from the Bible, we know that, for example, Jackie Kennedy was all about, she was only in for the money and fame, of course. Her sister the same, yeah. Her sister Lee Radziwill, or Lee Bouvier, on that occasion, she had an affair with Onassis. And then she presented Onassis to Jackie. And then Jackie, as well, she outclassed her sister once again. Yeah, so they had a comparison, they had a competition actually. Jackie was being married to the American president, and her sister Lee was being married to a Polish nobility guy, Radziwill. Yeah, and then Lee Radziwill, she began an affair with Aristotle Onassis, and then Jackie met Onassis, and then Jackie was outclassing her sister Lee once again. Yeah, so it's all about even between sisters. Yeah, it's all about fame, money, and who's the best. My, what a world! You really have to see what's behind it. And I'm sorry, but I get so sick sometimes of the Kennedy case, because it's just taking so much of my spare time. But it was just a foundation that you really see that you can't trust a secret society or a secret service, and that they protect the president. They did not do anything. They had to stand down. And it was not on the order of Emory Roberts. It was just only for the follow-up car, but it was as orders from high above at the head of the Secret Service. And then, of course, hierarchy up on the top of the CIA. And the Secret Service then was a part of the Treasury Department. I have to look it up. But, of course, it was just coming from top to bottom. Yeah, so there are similarities in each ritual. For example, if you compare John F. Kennedy to the September events, yeah, you had a Secret Service agent stand down in Dallas in 1963, and you had also very strange appearance in 2001 in the WTC, yeah, a security firm owned by the Bush family closed the World Trade Centers down the weekend before the fatal day, removing the bomb-sniffing dogs, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, I can remember of that. And I think, yeah,
that was
Marvin Bush
Bushes
also
that was in charge of that.
Yeah, Marvin Bush. Or I can't recall the name.
Yeah, right. Marvin Bush. That sounds right.
Yeah. And also the North American defense, air defense. Yeah, they had to stand down because at the same time they were having a kind of a training.
Michael, how simple can it be? It's really simple, actually. It's just that we're not allowed to talk about it or to hold those views publicly without getting smeared by these people that run the world. They have their laws and their ways that they do things. You must obey their way or it's the highway, according to this world system. But when you're outside of that world system, you're a sectarian. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But don't expect that you're going to live. Don't expect you're going to have dominion. That's reserved for Lucifer, right, Michael?
Yeah, as far as this material existence is... second point is removal of evidence. You see, they got rid even of the car, which is, of course, the major evidence in the case of John F. Kennedy. And in the 2001, it was the black boxes of the planes and some other artifacts. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's also always the same procedure.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, Michael. You know, we weren't there. We didn't see it with our own eyes. So we have to trust that the media is telling us the truth when those airplanes hit those towers.
Yeah, also,
Could it be that it was all fabricated? I don't know. I guess it could.
yeah, also
It's possible.
I remember, Brad, that there were security cameras around the area in Washington, actually, also from gas stations, and they were all confiscated by the
That's right.
FBI.
That's right.
Huh?
So, yeah, and there's all kinds of people all around us that could be working for that agenda to keep it all, they have to promote the official story, the official narrative, as we say, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't, then, then their life is on the line.
Yeah, you got the pristine magic bullet, which is not possible if that bullet hurt people. And at the same time, the discovery of, in 2001, of the identification cards, passports in the rubble, defying all logic and evidence. But it's not about logic and facts. Yeah, it's just about narrative and belief and doctrine. Yeah. The immediate identification of suspects, also very interesting. For Lee Harvey Oswald, yeah, it's on the one hand for John F. Kennedy, and Osama bin Laden happened right away after the attacks in 2001. Yeah, so they really got a point. Yeah, so the event was recorded by Abraham Zapruder, a Jewish man who supported the nation of Israel. That's BS here. Yeah. And in 2001, you had not only the 5 dancing Israelis, but also these, I think it was Jouvet brothers, who were just by accident, they are happening working on the street. And after that, also they did a very interesting movie, and they were interviewing all the major religious leaders of the world. Wonder who has supported and founded that? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that's it.
Zapruder was a Freemason, Michael.
What?
Zapruder was a Freemason.
Yeah, of course. He would not have gotten the job if he would not be a member of the Brotherhood.
Well, here's a question for everyone. Can a Freemason be a Jew? I don't think so. How can you, I mean, let's be realistic. Come on.
Yeah, and so that is really a prolific point. You see that Jackie Kennedy was CIA. Yeah, and therefore she was a secret agent. You can have another opinion, but that's a fact. Yeah, she worked for the CIA. She was close friends with Allen Dulles. What do you expect? Yeah, she asked for a job in the CIA, according to a source. And you see that George Morenshield was a close friend of Jackie's family, and he was also CIA. And don't come for just one moment that it was not deliberately planned that she would like to marry a wealthy, a rich, a famous guy. Yeah, so she has ties to the CIA and SMOM as well, because Allen Dulles was SMOM. Yeah, so amphetamines, okay, well, yeah, that's not a big point. Electroshock therapy, I can't prove that. But the choice of the hospital, of Bethesda Hospital, where they were running all these MK Ultra programs, I think is very revealing. And she had admitted to having no memory of crawling onto the trunk of the car. Yeah, that's right. Maybe she had no memory on
mental
purpose.
Reservation and equivocation, yeah?
Yeah, maybe she was under hypnosis also. Yeah, you see, you can't prove it, but you can really point a finger to is common sense that you know that she did not have a human behavior at that moment. I suggest that she was triggered. I'm really sure that there is a most likely alternative who triggered and what triggered Mrs. Kennedy, and it's not only the Umbrella Man. Yeah, there are some other things going on. Yeah, but. In a nutshell, yeah, you see that these are just operations, and we do not know what information is absolutely correct. Yeah, so there are not only mind controls in America, but there are certain operations like Operation Open Eyes. Yeah, maturing candidate looking for people who are just obeying because there is a switch in the brain. Yeah, they have dissociation and they are just another persona for a certain amount of time. Imagine somebody in the limousine of John F. Kennedy said the stop and go signal. So go signal, go Jackie, yeah, and bang, and then stop Jackie, and then she can't remember anything. So she's perfectly innocent, and even if she would then have to pass a lie detector test, Brad, she would pass. Because she cannot remember doing anything like that. I can prove that. Because I had once a fellow, a singer, a transgender or something else called Divine, not by accident. Yeah. Okay. So, where is that quote? I know that I talked about that in German. Is it not incorporated in the English Wikipedia article? Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there it is. I will translate it into English, okay?
Okay.
So Mr. Milstead first worked as a hairdresser according to his mother to take responsibility. He organized parties for his friends and often did not pay the bills, which then often got his parents. However, when then asked about it, he protested his innocence and even passed the lie detector test. How's that possible? Well, if you do some things under drugs, for example, you can switch to another persona. Yeah, so many things going on in these societies you don't want to know. You don't want to know. Yeah, you don't. It's just, it's never ending. You see that there are people who claiming there are 5 levels to create a Manchurian candidate. And the question is that the trigger can be set as a code word, a sequence of numbers, a voice, imprint, or etched into the suspect's brain. And then they will have no memory of the hypnosis sessions. Yeah, so then he's called a sleeper, or he or she has been called a sleeper then, with an activation key. In most cases of programmed clear eyes who commit murders or assassinations, the subject is killed on the spot either by an innocent bystander who kills only to end the killing, or by an agency operative who is on site to ensure nothing goes wrong. In other words, that the subject self-destruct or is killed, or is been suicided. My, I would never have expected to go into the Kennedy thing in that regard. Yeah, so maybe Jackie was under hypnosis and triggered by Mr. Connolly. Yep, that's most likely. Who thought he'd fumble the trigger. Yeah? And so everybody did his best to make it look like a lone assassin with a rifle in order to take suspicion of Jackie and the car. Because she was so close that she would have recognized the direction where the shot was coming from, Brett. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yep. And so you don't have to rely on any authors, we have only to use your common sense. Yeah, these are practices to create murderers without question, because in the military it is not the best idea to question the commands and the orders of your authority, of your commander. Can you imagine someone says, okay, go out and shoot the enemy or kill the enemy, and then every soldier would say, oh, I have moral problems with that, can we have a discussion? Yeah. So, there was a Manchurian Candidate in 1959. That's a novel. Yeah. Yeah. And so, after that, the film was redrawn because it was too close to the assassination of Kennedy. And all the press also is being controlled until this very day, of course. Yeah. When Kennedy was assassinated in 1963, the movie was withdrawn for many years. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and so interesting, Mr. Cordon here, the writer of this Manchurian Candidate novel, was also not having a Lawrence Harvey in that story as a brainwashed man, and Frank Sinatra as the author, but he's also been published here Winter Kills, It's even more close to the Kennedy assassination. The half-brother of a slain president of Irish descent overhears the deathbed confessions of a man who claims to have been involved in the murder. Yeah, so they have been totally fascinating about the Kennedy assassination. A satirical black comedy thriller film based on the novel by Richard Corden. Yeah, it's very interesting to go into Richard Corden. A fiction inspired by the assassination conspiracy of President John F. Kennedy, with Elizabeth Taylor, speaking of Bluebird program. Huh? And the plot is the President of the United States is shot and killed by a sniper during a visit to Philadelphia. A subsequent federal investigation named the sole perpetrator to be a lone gunman named Willie Arnold, who was murdered by a nightclub owner, Joe Diamond. Oh, my. Brad, I long to have the end of the session. I know that it... yeah. And later on, Mr. Condon had also success with the movie Prizzi's Honor, novels on the mafia. It had nothing to do with Kennedy. Sure, it has something to do with Kennedy. Yeah, that's with Jack Nicholson. You don't want to mess with him. Sometimes I don't think that he's acting. I don't. Sometimes I think he's just switching his persona. Yeah. Yeah, really. It's I mean it. Yeah.
Yeah, remember that famous scene from that movie?
Shining.
I always forget the name of it. Where he says, "You can't handle the truth."
Oh yeah, a question of honor or so. Something like this.
Yeah, Brave Men or something. I forget what it is.
Yeah. So they of course these programs are being run in hospitals. So like Dallas and Bethesda. Yeah. So these people can be normal people, but when they are activated, these are professional killers. Yeah, he is living a normal life until the subject is required to perform the programs implanted or written into the hypnosis at the point of deactivating the trigger. Subject is beyond recall. Sure, you see that people find it so funny when somebody is in a hypnosis session and then he's biting into a lemon, thinking it is a delicious apple or some sweet fruit, and the audience is laughing. They don't comprehend. That at this part of the so-called hypnosis, another spirit is taking over. Because hypnosis means that you hand over your spirit, your control over your body to someone else. Imagine the consequences. Mm-hmm. You can't recall anything. And that's not the saddest part. The saddest part is that everybody can abuse you mentally, physically, without that you don't know anything, and you can imagine the extreme possibilities in that. I don't want to tell anything further because, we are talking about Kennedy here. So there's a quote of Kissinger who said, before the Freedom of Information Act, I used to say at meetings, the illegal we do immediately, the unconstitutional takes a little longer. That's him with Lyndon B. Johnson. Birds of a feather.
Flock together.
Yeah, and then you see that everybody who wanted to protect the president, we know that people were being withheld and people were being forced to be in facilities or in jail. And one black Secret Service agent was even jailed for the JFK plot warning. It was not about Dallas, it was about Chicago. A guy called Abraham Bolden. He was being sent to jail. He was being set into office by President Kennedy personally. He says that you are the Jackie Robinson of the Secret Service. But he just asked too many questions. He asked so many questions. When he was 26 years old, not willing to go along to get along. And then he was set up. In October 1963, he said that there is an assassination plot against JFK involving a squad of Cuban exiles. Yeah, but after that, you see, they have then changed the route on November the 2nd, but they had to make sure that he won't interfere again. Yeah, therefore, he was dumbfounded to learn that this information 3 weeks before November the 22nd was not being investigated by the Warren Commission. Sure, they did not want to know anything. Yeah, and so they were silencing the messenger. Yeah, he was then in the hands of the Justice Department for a crime he did not commit. Yeah. He sensed something was wrong when he found himself sitting between two agents on the plane. Yeah, and then he was found guilty in a second trial and sentenced to 6 years in prison. He served more than 3 with stints in solitary confinement and psychiatric institutions. Yeah. So that's a story which has not been told in the mass media. My, you see this, all these poor people are being put to jail because they speak the truth. Mm-hmm. Has anything changed in 2,000 years? I doubt it. I doubt that, Brad. Nothing has changed. Nothing would ever change unless Jesus Christ will return. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah? And to close it down, it's just James Forrester's strange death, because he was also related to Mr. John F. Kennedy. And his story has also been incorporated in the Vatican Against Europe. I think it was all the Afro-Manhattan... what's the name of the book? The Vatican Billions. But I think it was the Vatican Against Europe. But I'm not quite sure.
That's not an Afro-Manhattan book, isn't that the other author? Edmund Paris?
Yeah, but James Forrester's strange death. He had been Roosevelt's Secretary of the Navy in 1944. He opposed the United Nations vote to partition Palestine and protested vigorously against the recognition of Israel in May 15, 1948. And then in 1949, he was interned against his will in the military hospital of the Navy in
Oh, yeah. Bethesda, Maryland, of course.
Yeah. You know that hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Operation
Right.
Mockingbird and JFK.
Bluebird Project.
Yeah. Suburb, where he was forcibly confined for 7 weeks. He fell to his death from the 16th floor at 1:50 in the morning of May 22nd, 1949, landing on the roof of the 3rd floor. And Jörg was then adding that he has written that he was yelling kind of the Russians are invading or the Russians are coming, so you can guess that he was being under drugs, which I think is not uncommon in a psychiatric hospital, huh? So that's how they get everybody, yeah, because they can then claim that, oh yeah, he was insane, not telling you that they injected him something, which is more than likely. Yeah? James Forrester became the Empire's first Secretary of Defense, or more correctly, Secretary of Offense. Yeah? But he was against the official doctrine of the recognition of the nation-state of Israel. Yeah, and so they got rid of him. I don't know the exact reason, but that being one of them, most likely. Yeah. So that is your Bethesda hospital. That is not only a hospital, that's a military hospital. With the military hospital, with a psychic ward and with so many facilities around that area that they can do everything behind closed doors.
Hey, is that a pentagram on the top there, Michael?
Oh, that's just by coincidence. Yeah. First of all, I thought it was
like
in
Texas, like the
It's not in Texas.
Tuscaloosa.
No, it's not in Texas. It's in Maryland.
The Lone Star State? Yeah.
No. It's not. It's here in.
I'm saying it looks like.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
like
I
the
got
obelisk.
you. Yeah. So that's the Bethesda Naval Hospital where Forrester met his death. Yeah, there's an interesting book called David Martin, Assassination of James Forrester. I talked about that last time with Daryl Eberhard, because I know that he's got the book in his possession and he can recommend that book. Except the part that they claim that there is a Zionist movement. That's, of course, absolutely BS. Yeah, but you have to sort out the things, and you have to, sort out the Zionist BS. Yeah. Everyone knows that Kennedy was assassinated, yet most Americans are still unaware of the evidence incriminating Israel. In the case of Forrester, it is the opposite. The author claims few people suspect a murder, but once the evidence for murder has been presented, it points directly to Israel. No, that is not correct. It points to the government. Yeah? Forrester was very close to JFK's father. Aha, yeah, sure. They both were government. Yeah? Played golf with Joe Kennedy. Yeah. Yeah, you see, and this is here, JFK visits Forrester grave at Arlington Cemetery. And both men have something in common, Brett. They both left the hospital as a dead man. Yeah, even nowadays, JFK been buried in Arlington. Oh my, so many things. Yeah, they have some sinister thing in common, the Bethesda Naval Hospital. Yeah, so that is not only a naval hospital. You can say that it's the Bethesda Secret Service Facility. What else? So that's it, because I really want to go into the assassination then quite soon in the next session. And then when we go into the assassination of Kennedy, we will go into the very day, and then we go it from start to finish, so to speak, and after that we will do sessions about the real background of the assassination, without looking to any book, but only to use common sense and some things that I have come up with. So please bear with us. Yeah, please bear with us, because in this day and age we're not many. And we will struggle, and we don't give up, because there is hope. Yeah, there is always hope. There is always hope, because we are serving the real God, and the real God that we are serving has not to read any texts, but the real God that we are serving has mercy and is almighty. And so we are on the right side. Thanks for having me, and thanks for bearing with me. And this was just a prelude to the Nightmare on Elm Street, so there was no stand down of the Secret Service by accident, but on purpose. If they want to get you, they will get you, even if you're the American president, because JFK was on its own on November the 22nd. Thanks for having me, and handing it over to my beloved brother Brett.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, this is really something that's been, well, what can we say, programmed, or rather just fed into the public consciousness for so long that I think that a lot of us just can't bear with it any longer, and we cave in, and then you open the door to Satan, and he comes in and takes over. And that's kind of what's happened in terms of all of our so-called culture here. It's not culture, it's indoctrination is what it is. Like this Nightmare on Elm Street promo we see in front of us from our Antichrist world system that we live in. Yeah, they had to program a Nightmare on Elm Street, continue the nightmare so that the nightmare will not stop, and get that into every young child's head that, like our generation, Michael, that, you cannot question the official narrative, no matter what realm you're speaking of, because you're just a peon little snob that doesn't really account for anything in this world. So, you're going to be silenced, and you're not going to be allowed to speak. Well, and really, this is a consequence of the dominion of Satan, isn't it? So we as a church, as a real church, as God's people, have been suffering under our whole lives. And you don't have a choice. and you think that the world is going to turn around tomorrow and become a nice, friendly place, you better just try your best to continue living the way you do and dealing with your own problems, because there's no way we're going to solve the world's problems. There's just no possible way. I think the best thing to do is to take the advice of starting to take the Bible very, very seriously. And not just any Bible, but the old Bible, I say, Michael, the oldest Bible you can get your hand on and read. The oldest one. I don't care what version it is. I really don't. Because you're better off with a Bible and you just start learning than you are with the textbook, or you are with some other hideous thing that man has composed. Because really, even the corrupted word still is something. And it's the meaning. Remember, it's the meaning of the word that counts. So yeah, men can corrupt the word. That's for sure. And we've corrupted it really badly. But the fact of the matter is it still has a meaning. And if we have real faith, eventually we'll start questioning deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's none of my business what Bible you read, dear listener. It's my business that the truth is able to come out and that you can reason through the problems and come to a better conclusion. That's what we want. We want an outcome that makes sense, that has a balance, that is in line with what God wills, not what we will. Because, you know, the opposite of God's will is Satan's will. And Satan would rather have you do whatever you want to do. And this is what we commonly call freedom of, free will. Free will is Satan's will. We don't want Satan's will here. We want God's will. God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? And that isn't really up to us, because God created us for a purpose. So we have to obey His word and His testimony to have a purpose, I think. Otherwise, we're in big trouble. So thank you, Michael, for the presentation today. And I see you have John chapter 8, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and the father of it. And because I, this is coming from Jesus, tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Or wait, this is John, I'm sorry. This is the Apostle John. Yeah, so just a great deal of controversy in this life, Michael, and listeners. We're going to have to face the heat on all sides in our families and our social situations, and at the end, we can expect God's perfect judgment. And on that note, Maranatha.